The life of a Formula One driver is an interesting one. You're born, you're thrown into a go-kart, you make your way up through the junior series, you debut in Formula One, you win races, you might even win championships. You wine and dine with kings and queens and you party on yachts. And then you retire. And then what? You could start a podcast, you could become a pundit, you could start a company called AutoTrack that provides mobile data messaging and tracking of customers' trucks by GPS tracking. Incredibly specific, but you could do that if that's what you wanted to do. But what if you wanted to carry on racing? Well, there is Formula E, or IndyCar, or WEC, or NASCAR, or GT racing, or touring cars, or rally. But what if you wanted an incredibly specific racing series which no longer exists, which turns out to be the topic of this exact video? Well, then you could go to GP Masters. The GP Masters series was a series that started in 2005 to try and follow on from the success of the golf and tennis senior tours. The idea being that if people wanted to see the huge names of the past competing today, then they still could. But if you wanted to compete in GP Masters, you had to adhere to the 5 big rules. Rule 1. You must have retired from all forms of open-wheel racing. Rule 2. You must have competed in F1 for 2 complete seasons. Rule 3. You must have passed a medical examination. Rule 4. You must be over the age of 45. Rule 5. You must have retired from F1 for 2 complete seasons. This series was also a spec series, so all the cars were the same. The chassis was built by Delta Motorsport, and the engine was a 3.5-litre V8. So, who were some of these huge names that were going to compete in GP Masters? We had 1992 Formula One World Champion Nigel Mansell, 2-time Formula One World Champion Emerson Fittipaldi, 1980 Formula One World Champion Alan Jones, 4-time Formula One World Champion Alain Prost. What? Oh, he's pulled out. But we've put his face all over the website. His face is still on the tags for all the merch that we're selling. What? He can't pull out. Okay. Well, so Alain Prost has pulled out. We still have, though, 1996 Formula One World Champion Damon Hill. He's not doing it either. Okay. Who else have we got? 7-time race winner Rene Arnoux. 6-time race winner Riccardo Patrese. He had the record for the most ever F1 races at the time. 6-time race winner Jacques Lafitte. The amazing Andrea De Cesaris. 2-time race winner Patrick Tombe. Oh my, who else have we? Derek Warwick. He's had a few. Eddie Cheever. He's had some podiums. He's won the Indy 500. Stefan Johansson. 12 podiums with him. Hans Joachim Stuck. He's had a couple podiums. He's won Le Mans. Jan Lammers. Not the best F1 career, but he's won Le Mans as well. Who hasn't won Le Mans? We got Pierluigi Martini. He has the record for the most ever points scored in a Minardi. And he's won Le Mans. I think I've won Le Mans at this point. Alex Caffey, he scored 6 points. Christian Danner, he has the exact same amount of F1 races as Logan Sargent. Oh, okay. Elio Salazar. He has less races than Logan Sargent. And who's this last name? Eric van der Poel. He has got 29 Grand Prix involvements. In 24 of them, he did not qualify for the race. Right. Well, It's a mixed pool of talent here at the GP Masters, but what we can promise you is some drama, because we already have some. We have some drama before a single race has started between the 1980 world champion Alan Jones and Christian Danner. Basically, Christian Danner has said, Alan Jones, you shouldn't be in this series because since you've retired, you've got a little bit fat. And Alan Jones has said, well, Christian Danner, you should not be in this racing series because the only time you've ever seen a podium is when you walk past it to take a piss. So there's huge drama here, and let me tell you, I am unbiased, but I am Team Alan Jones. I've got my GP Masters hat here. It is the Alan Jones special. I'm wearing it. I'm unbiased, but I'm supporting Alan Jones from here on out. So let's get to the racing, and the first race took place at Kyalami, which had an added retro feel to it. Kyalami Circuit has held 20 F1 races before, but hasn't held a race since 1993, so it has that wonderful old school vibe to it which the entire event is going for. And to add an extra bit of flavour to that old school vibe, we also have the return of the greatest sports commentator to ever live, Murray Walker, who retired from commentating in Formula 1 full-time in 2001. He has returned from the commentary booth for the Grand Prix Masters, which is fantastic. But with all these returns, there's something else which has actually disappeared. And that's Nigel Mansell's moustache. For some reason, he's decided he doesn't need it. I disagree. So throughout this video, I'll be editing it back on. It might not look good, but it's better than no moustache. And if it's lacking towards the end of the video, it's because of my general editing laziness. I'm also recording this on a green screen, so I'm going the extra mile for you people in this video. I hope you appreciate it. So, let's go to the start of the very first race, and we have got Nigel Mansell on pole position, Emerson Fittipaldi alongside him, the massive loser Christian Danner is in 7th place, and where is Alan Jones? Where is he there? I can't see his where's Alan? Oh, he's Alan Jones has had to drop out due to neck pain. Gonna take that. So, Alan Jones never actually competed in a Grand Prix Masters race. He cited neck pain in a practice session as the reason to why he didn't compete. He was also 10 seconds off the pace. So, realistically, I don't know why a hat is available for him to buy, because he never actually raced. It also makes no sense why I can buy it in 2024, but we'll move on. We'll move on from that, and let's just start the race.
Watch the lights, and the Grand Prix Masters is go! And Nigel Mansell leads away with Emerson Fittipaldi in second position. Riccardo Patrese tucks into his slipstream, and Jan Lammers retains his fourth position. Nose to tail, 650 horsepower each of these V8 Nicholson McLaren engines are producing, punching them through to the rear wheels. It's nose to tail all the way round. We're expecting it to be fairly static for the first lap or two, but Nigel Mansell is still up there.
And it goes off pretty well. A good start for everyone here.
Chloe Mansell, Nigel's daughter. There's the spin of Stefan Johansson. Smoking tyres, no contact from cars.
No, lost totally on his own. He's had a real trouble all week.
And that spin for Johansson brings out the safety car, and it's bad news if you're a fan of Jacques Lafitte, because unfortunately he is out of this race.
Who was actually last out of the 14 drivers, so it looks as though we've got 2 retirements already.
But it's good news if you're a fan of Jacques Lafitte, because he is back in this race.
Agreed. Jacques Lafitte, with whatever sort of problem was ailing him, corrected apparently, rejoins the race.
And I'm afraid I've got some bad news if you are a fan of Jacques Lafitte, because he has now retired from this race. But here we go with the safety car restart now, get this race going back underway properly. And it's fantastic news if you're a fan of Jacques Lafitte, because he is back in this race.
He really would be well advised to pull out of the race, it seems to me, because he's a mobile chicane at the present moment.
Now, throughout this race, what they have is when they show the names in the bottom corner, they also have a photo of the driver. And I can't help but feel this is kind of like a slideshow of Facebook profile pictures of exclusively dads. And it's mostly because that's basically what it is. Now, with the return of Murray Walker, we also get some fantastic Murrayisms, including this one.
Well, Nigel Mansell, who is the most race winner in Formula One, except of course for Michael Schumacher, Senna and Prost.
So there we go, thank you Murray for that one. Nigel Mansell has the most F1 wins in history, apart from all the people who have more wins than him. That is a fantastic statistic. Now, as the race continues, it becomes very clear that Mansell and Fittipaldi are much faster than the rest, and a gap begins to build of those two out in the lead, then everybody else. But it kind of makes sense as to why those two would have the lead. Not only are they the most successful, but exclusively at Kyalami as well. They have both had great success here. Nigel Mansell has the most wins out of anyone in F1 history at this track, apart from the drivers who have more than him, and Emerson Fittipaldi has the record for the most laps raced at this track, apart from the drivers who have more than him. So they've actually done very well here in the past. Just for clarity, it is just Niki Lauda who has more wins than Nigel Mansell here, and it's also Niki Lauda who has more laps raced here than Emerson Fittipaldi. Realistically, it'd be nice to have Niki Lauda racing here, but I guess he didn't want to do it either. Now, the race takes a while to get going, but once it gets going, it really gets going. The drivers get a lot more comfortable with the cars. They kind of go back into that comfortable position of racing, because for some of these guys, it's been years since they've actually been in a proper race. So as it gets on, they get more and more comfortable, and it's like slipping into those good old slippers that you used to have, and you're just there in the zone, and the racing becomes good.
Emerson's period covers 1970 to 1980, and look at this!
Three
Look at
abreast.
this, 3 abreast. It's all starting to happen. It's taken some time, but the man who's making it happen is Hans Stuck.
Well,
6'4".
Well, Christian Danner got a little bit sideways back there and he allowed this to break up. And of course they all started to go through. Look, here we go, Stuck right there. But it all got a bit sideways coming up there through what I call sunset, and that allowed them to make that breakthrough which they needed. We're now going back on the old bit of the track. Here's Stuck having a look again as we come up to sunset. I think this is the corner we're talking about. Here we go. Stuck goes down the inside. Whoa, and he gets it well crossed up as he goes through there. My goodness, typical Stuck pose. But he stays there. But of course he lost a bit of time, as you can see, and Danner goes back past him. Just shows what happens when you get it sideways.
But just as it does, Murray Walker gives us this shocking revelation.
If Nigel Mansell was playing shove halfpenny with his children, he would have to beat them. That's the sort of guy he is.
So there you have it, Nigel Mansell beats his children. But something even more shocking than Nigel Mansell beating his children is about to happen, because the amazing Andrea de Cesaris, the man who has the record for the most DNFs in F1 history, the man who at one point only had 4 race finishes in 3 consecutive Formula One seasons, actually becomes amazing.
Really, here we go. Watch Derek. He goes over because he's trying to get pace coming out of the corner. And whoops, here comes the boy down the inside. Just what he didn't need. De Cesaris goes through. Just all that work Derek did. And Derek's trying to figure out how to overtake Lammers in front. And that's given Lammers the break he needed, because he needed a bit of a respite from that pressure. They're not going to get any worse now. Let's give it everything we've got. De Cesaris is all over the back here of Lammers, and he's trying very hard. Look, he goes through. Now that's what Derek Warwick should have had a go at earlier.
Well, Andrew de Cesaris moves up into 4th position ahead of Jan Lammers. That was an inspired and very, very determined move.
Well, that was a couple of laps. He's got by 2 places. A great piece of work by him.
So there you go, de Cesaris proving to us all that the peak age for a motorsport driver is 46. So realistically, that's only 3 years older than Fernando Alonso is right now. So there may be some truth in here that the age in which you are the best at motor racing is 46 years old. Anyway, we've got about 5 laps left to go, so I know all you Jacques Lafitte fans out there are wondering how he's getting on. Let's check in on him now.
oh my goodness, Jacques Lafitte.
Sorry, Lafitte. Jacques Lafitte off, and he's taken with him. It's Salazar, the Chilean driver, and they've had a coming together. And Jacques Lafitte did it just at the pit lane.
Yeah, Jacques just never knew he was there, did he? Dear, oh dear, oh dear.
Well, that's definitely a retirement. Look at that right front suspension, and it's René Arnoux, incidentally.
They're two close mates, Murray.
Yes.
They spent the whole week together. He's sharing seats in qualifying. I'll do half the qualifying, you do the other with my seat.
We had dinner with them last night, and they were in the best of spirits. I think there may be some harsh French words spoken, but Jacques Lafitte definitely out of the race. I don't know if René Arnoux kept going, but he was, as I was saying at the time, on a charge.
So as we enter the final lap, it is still Mansell and Fittipaldi out in front, but less than a second separates the both of them. So let's have a look how it goes on the final lap of this first GP Masters race.
It's happening behind them, but Fittipaldi knows, and look at it. He hangs on, the red lights come on. That means to say that he's well into the maximum revs of the engine. And this is irrespective of who wins this race. This is a quite astounding performance by Emerson Fittipaldi, because he said to me yesterday he's had to break through a mental barrier to take part in this race at all. He wasn't at all sure, but he wanted to do it because when all's said and done, this is a dangerous business, and he's 58 years old. So
it's not over yet, Murray.
Mansell knows, and he's got half a lap to go now. Is it going to come down to the last corner? Is there going to be a do-or-die effort by Emerson Fittipaldi to get through? No. Mansell has got enough torque, enough grunt to pump through those rear tires to keep in front of Emerson Fittipaldi on this very last lap. Just listen. Well, Mrs. Fittipaldi, you can be proud of your husband, and Fittipaldi has a go.
He had his right wheel locked up there.
This is absolutely fantastic. And he lunges again. This is the last corner coming up. Mansell is going to win this race, little doubt about that. But what a fantastic fighting finish from Emerson Fittipaldi. It's less than a second going to come with them after 30 laps. Two world champions up front, and Nigel waves the wave of victory. Well done, Nigel Mansell.
So Nigel Mansell takes the win, which brings me to actually one of my favourite things about this series in general, and that's that for older fans it's a chance to see your favourite drivers race again. For younger fans, it might be a first chance to see some of these big names race live for the first time. And then another added layer here is that for some of these drivers, it might be a first chance for their children to see them do what they do best. If we take Mansell, for example, here, he has 3 children. They were born in the mid to late 80s. So when he retired, his oldest child was around about 10 years old. So some of them might not have proper memories of him being this motorsport legend. But here, they are adults and they're with him, and they get to see this amazing crowd celebrate him as he's done so well. And it becomes really clear throughout all these races that these drivers want their families involved. We see this all the time throughout the races that we're going to cover. The families of the drivers are always there, and they're part of the teams, and it's a real family affair, which is a great thing because your children get to see them being brilliant. Then we go to the podium and the drivers get a little flag here, which is fun, but then Nigel actually does the most impressive thing I've seen him do this entire race, where he does this jump up to the top step of the podium, and every time I see it I think he's going to fall, but he makes it. Fantastic stuff from Nigel. So that was the only race of GP Masters in 2005, which means that Nigel Mansell is the 2005 GP Masters World Champion, a title I'm sure he holds in the same regard as his F1 World Championship and his IndyCar World Championship. But GP Masters will be back in 2006. 5 races were scheduled, firstly in Qatar, then moving to Monza, Silverstone, Sepang, and then finishing back up in Kyalami. The race in Qatar would actually be the first ever motorsport race at that circuit with 4 wheels. Before, all the races had been with motorbikes, and it was 15 years before F1 would actually go there, which to me kind of doesn't really make sense. Well, it makes sense in a way because I know why they went there. They were probably offered a lot of money. But I feel like the whole appeal of this series is to be a bit retro, to be a bit of a throwback. So to go to a circuit that's never held an F1 race, to me doesn't really suit what the series is all about. I think tracks like a Watkins Glen or a Brands Hatch would have featured much better than a Qatar, but there we go. I imagine you can't just turn up to a circuit and go, we're going to race here. They probably need some kind of monetary incentive, which I imagine Qatar are happy to give. So let's talk about that race in Qatar. And now, we all know the now famous F1 intro. But before that was even a thing, the GP Masters intro became a thing for this race, and this intro walked in order for the F1 intro to run. For this race, Mansell is on pole yet again, but this time it is Christian Danner alongside him. And there's a bit of a change in the commentary box because Alan Jones joins Murray Walker this time round. Now, Murray has got a bit of a cough here this weekend, but don't worry, it is barely noticeable.
They're very, very quick indeed, and Danner, as I said earlier on, was driving out of his skin. A superb performance. This is how it looked to Derek Warwick, third on the grid. Notice the style, hits the apex at exactly the right point. Very, very big run-off areas at this Losail circuit. It was originally designed for use by motorcycles, and that's Riccardo Patrese losing, he believes, a place on the front row of the grid with that spin. He'd done the 2 fastest sectors of the whole afternoon yesterday in qualifying until he arrived at this point and spun out of the race, out of the qualifying.
Now the thing is here with this racing series, we're dealing with men of a certain age. And when men reach a certain age, their toilet activities change. And thankfully, Nigel is here on hand to talk us through his own toilet activities.
That we can only go about 8 minutes without having to go to the bathroom, so I'm just hoping to hang on until we'll start now.
And since we have last seen Murray Walker, he has gained the ability to read minds, and here he is reading the mind of the amazing Andrea de Cesaris.
Andrea de Cesaris contemplating the meaning of life as he sits down there.
And before we go to the race, we get the call of "Gentlemen, start your engines," which was made famous in IndyCar. But we get a very special guest to say those words. Now, when you introduce a special guest, it's very important that you know their name and you don't look at a piece of paper in front of their face to remember their name.
Well, it gives me great pleasure now to introduce our host, the president of the QMMF, that is Nasser bin Khalifa Al Attiyah, to say some very immortal words.
Thanks a lot. It gives me a great pleasure to welcome everybody here and to start their engine. Please, gentlemen, start your engine.
Now, it is very hot in Qatar, and before the race, Patrese's car actually breaks down. They plug the computer in to try and fix it, and it makes the number one sound you do not want to hear when you plug your computer into your car.
But it's the old story. Get the computer out. Of course, nowadays the engine performance.
Meanwhile, you may be wondering, if these drivers had never raced here on this track before, how do they know which way to go? They don't have a sat-nav in the car, but thankfully Derek Warwick is here and will show us his own version of sat-nav. He's just drawn a picture here and stuck it on his steering wheel, and that'll send you the right way, Derek, don't you worry. Let's have a quick check-in with Patrese.
Now we have liftoff. Great. Riccardo Patrese is ready to join the race. Engine cover on.
Here we go. Let's go racing now.
Tombe has taken the start. Oh.
it's broken down.
Oh, great! Riccardo Patrese joins the race. He will stop at the line there, facing the red light. And when the last man, who I expect to be Patrick Torbay, passes the line, the light will go to green and Riccardo Patrese will be able to start the race, and we are going to be able to enjoy watching him hopefully fight his way through the field towards the front.
Here we go. Riccardo Patrese, he has been out, but he's not out now. He's ready to go racing. We're all behind you, Riccardo. Let's go. He's going to get out on the track, catch the back of the field here, and he can win. Oh, no, he's nearly been lapped already. It's over for Patrese. The race hasn't even started, and it's over for him.
Should have done a lot earlier than what they have, because the chances of him now, unless they give them an extra lap, the chances of him getting right up behind the other cars at the time of the start is going to be impossible.
Yeah, that's blown it. And it was my assumption that he was actually going to be starting from the pit lane. Anyway, there goes the pace car. Now, when the lights go off, the Grand Prix Masters is, as they come down that long straight towards us for 24 laps. It is time to go! And Nigel Mansell is edging ahead, moves across into the first corner, moves ahead of Christian Danner.
Now we have to go to Murray Walker now, because he has some shocking news.
Luigi Martini in pole position. There's contact there. There's contact between Elio De Angelis and Stefan Johansson.
So he said there that Elio De Angelis is in this race, which is surprising because his name is not listed in the names of participants. And also, he has been dead for 20 years. So quite a shock to see him featured in this race. But groundbreaking news from GP Masters, Elio De Angelis back from the dead and competing here today. So best of luck to him in today's race. So as the race gets going, we do see a couple little mistakes here and there.
Luigi Martini, as I said earlier on, could be the dark horse of this race. Speed for Derek Warwick. Past goes Emerson Fittipaldi. Past goes De Cesaris, Johansson, Stuck, Van der Poel. Derek Warwick spins the car back onto the circuit.
Thankfully, though, Warwick does have that little drawing of the map on his steering wheel, though, so he'll know which way to go, because he is going. At least he is still going.
Quite a bit. Oh, yeah, he just looked like he understeered off there or something. Whether he had some contact with another car or not, I don't know. But Jan Lammers has taken quite a bit of rear wing off for that very same reason, Murray.
Well, it's a calculated risk, because whilst you've got less drag and downforce on the straight, you're also going to have the same on the corners, and maybe that's what happened to Hans Stuck. Anyway, he spun out of the race.
I guess you could say that Stuck is stuck. Oh, dear. But once again, as the race actually starts to get going, the racing again gets good.
Say that there was some unfinished business here as far as he was concerned. Does that unfinished, and now he's having a go at Christian Danner.
He's got him
and
too.
He's done it.
Whoops. Careful.
Oh, great stuff. He pushes Christian Danner out wide. The German just almost loses the front of the car now. Eddie Cheever, if the unfinished business that he was talking about was beating Nigel Mansell, is in the position to do it. And Nigel Mansell will have seen in his rear mirrors that the colour and the helmet of and the car behind him are different. Here's a replay as Eddie Cheever battles it out on the corner with Christian Danner.
He was giving no quarter there. He pushed Christian right out on the outside. Oh, they've had good contact too. And now Christian will think, okay, boy, if that's the way you want to go.
Such a nice bloke out of the car too.
Gentleman Eddie.
Yeah, Gentleman Eddie, they call him.
Let's have a little check-in now with Elio Salazar.
Oh, there goes Salazar. We've already seen Hans Stuck out of the race. We've seen Derek Warwick spin and rejoin. And Eliseo Salazar from Chile is out of the Grand Prix Masters.
Now, Salazar being out of this race brings out the safety car, and we see a little weird moment here where De Cesaris lets someone else go past him behind the safety car. And I think now is a great time to mention how fantastic I think the duo of Murray Walker and Alan Jones is. I'd never heard Alan Jones do commentary before. Apparently he does do coverage of the F1 in Australia, but I think he is absolutely fantastic as he gives us an insight right now into why the amazing Andrea De Cesaris would let better driver pass him behind the safety car.
Pierluigi Martini has gone past him. Maybe, here's a guess, Alan, maybe he wasn't waving through, he was gesturing furiously Italian fashion at Pierluigi Martini for passing him. How's that?
Well, on the other hand, he might be being super cunning and waving him past, and then after the race complain that he was passed under the safety car and getting disqualified.
They wouldn't do that. They wouldn't do that.
Now, like I said, this is the first time a race had taken part at this track featuring a vehicle with 4 wheels. Before it was all motorbikes. And realistically, at this time, the track is not suited for cars when they break down. The gaps in between the barriers are not big enough to fit a car through. So in order for Salazar's car to be taken out, they have to tow it back to the pits, which takes an incredibly long time, to the point that the safety car and the entire pack lap Salazar whilst he's being towed. Now, as the safety car comes in, Mansell goes incredibly early and catches everyone napping, to the point that when the safety car period ends and he has a green flag, he has a huge lead here, which basically says in the dying moments of this race, unless something crazy happens, Mansell has won this with ease.
The amazing Andrea de Cesaris.
Oh, it's De Cesaris has had a spin.
Cesaris has gone off.
The amazing Andrea de Cesaris.
Now, this brings out the safety car again, and normally behind the safety car, for the fans watching at home, it can be a bit of a down period, it can be a bit dull. But with our good friends Murray Walker and Alan Jones in commentary, there is never a dull moment.
You've got to take off the steering wheel and then put it back on again so that the car... Oh, Andrea, put the steering wheel back. You've got to put it back so that they can recover it, and this is very bad news. Out goes the safety car yet again. We're probably...
I mean, even if they could just drag it to the inside of the track and start the thing.
I don't like to even contemplate the recovery car having to do a full slow lap once it's recovered De Cesaris' car from the gravel track, and it seems to be taking time about doing so, because the race would finish under the safety car, and that would be about the worst possible thing that could happen.
Tell you what, you wouldn't want to be upside down.
No. Oh, hello, they're getting serious now. Bringing out the heavy brigade.
Yeah, but where's it come from? Doha.
Anybody seen a broken down motor car around here anywhere? He could go through the Armco to recover it with the greatest of ease. I don't know that he's actually... Oh yeah, they're going to lift it. He's got the lifting blades on the front. That's good thinking, actually. Rather than sending out the very slow recovery car to pull it round, they've sent out this, whatever it's called, lift truck, and he's going to shove those blades underneath the car, lift it, and off he goes.
Next thing, he won't be able to get through the gap with his car sideways.
You really are a cheerful bloke, Alan. Come on, lads. This isn't an exercise. This is the real thing. Get rid of it as quickly as you possibly can.
Oh, Murray, I've got to say, this is appalling.
We are now going to discover the tensile strength of nylon webbing. Alan, if that webbing breaks, we're going to be in real trouble.
And you call me a pessimist?
Success! Wheels off the ground. Come on, a bit more lift, chaps. Where are they on the circuit? No, okay. Off you go, Abdul. Andrea, he's like somebody with a stricken horse, actually. He's staying faithfully by his steed. Refusing to leave. Well, I knew JCB made all sorts of peculiar devices. I never knew they made anything quite like that.
Now, under this safety car period, Mansell restarts again, but does not get as good a lead as he does before. But Mansell still crosses the line to take the win in Qatar, meaning he has an 100% win record in GP Masters. Now, the next race was at Monza, but it was cancelled, but not for a reason I imagine you would predict. At the time, the Monza circuit was having a lot of legal issues with people who lived nearby and noise complaints. Which, to be honest, I think is a bit mad. I mean, the Monza circuit has been there since 1922. If you are living in a house near Monza in the year of our Lord 2006, you know the circuit is there, you know what racing cars are, you know it's gonna be loud. To me, it's a bit like buying a house on the beach and then going, oh wow, there's a lot of sand here. It doesn't make any sense. So thankfully, in the end, common sense would prevail and racing would be allowed to continue at Monza, but not in time for GP Masters to go there. So unfortunately, we never got that race, which means the next race in the season was at Silverstone. And Nigel Mansell must have been feeling very, very confident. Of course, he had a 100% pole rate in GP Masters. He had a 100% win rate in GP Masters. And in terms of the Silverstone Grand Prix, he has the most race wins there in Formula One history, apart from all the drivers who have more than him. But it was a bad start for Mansell, who had engine issues in qualifying and did not set a time, meaning he would have to start in 13th place. While at the front, it was Christian Danner on pole, with Johansson alongside him, and the top four separated by just over a tenth of a second. Now, we have many F1 stars of the past competing here in Silverstone, but we also have a few who are watching, including 1979 Formula One World Champion Jody Scheckter.
Jody, do you wish you were racing?
No.
Alright, yeah, thanks for that, Jody. We also have 1996 Formula One World Champion Damon Hill here this weekend, and he's been asked what he thinks of GP Masters.
I think it's fantastic. There's such a good spirit amongst all the drivers, and they do it because they still love driving, they still love racing, and I think that's incredible. And it's good that they've got an opportunity to race in equal equipment, and they still get a chance to have a crack at something.
And Damon would also get the opportunity to drive one of the GP Masters two-seater race cars and take his son around the Silverstone track.
I'm really happy to have been able to have a lap with my son, and thanks to GP Masters, they're two-seater, that's possible. Well, I think he may have got, hopefully he's got a little bit of respect for me, I don't know, maybe he thinks I was a slow coach.
So, with Damon saying he thinks the competition is fantastic, with GP Masters giving him the opportunity to drive his son round in a Formula One car, I mean, all of this must be getting Damon feeling like he wants to get back in the seat and join GP Masters.
I think that I'm pretty certain that I was true to my word about not racing again, so I think it's unlikely.
Alright, yeah, thanks Damon. Right, let's just get racing, okay? Let's go to the start of the race. It's a very wet day in Silverstone, and to make sure we have a safe start, we're going to have a few laps behind the safety car to try and create a bit of a dry line. And because it's behind the safety car, everything will be safe.
Feels understandably. Oh, hello. It's a lot slippier than we thought it was.
Well, it is, Murray. I mean, with these conditions, sometimes it's actually worse than when it's pouring with rain, because these tyres are designed to disperse the water from underneath them. There is no rain as such, but the track is still very, very breezy, so they've really got to be on their toes. And of course, not having tyre warmers like modern Formula One cars, the tyres are quite cold, as you can,
now
as we can see.
That wouldn't happen in a Formula One car, because they have traction control, which is designed to stop that sort of thing happening, and it is spectacular.
See, it's not easy, Christian, is it? Starting from the front. You'd never see Nigel doing something like that.
So the tyres would be warm, and they would, as you quite rightly say, have traction control, which would have prevented that. Personally, I want to see the...
Oh, and you're seeing it! Nigel Mansell, spin, spin, spin!
Oh dear. The thing is with Nigel, the thing is this, right? It's clear the car has got some sort of issue here. He's had a spin, but will he give up? No, he never gives up.
I mean, they're very capable, and he's into the pit lane. Nigel Mansell comes into the pit lane as the rest of them go round on the second lap behind. So we've got real drama right at the start of the race. Nigel Mansell, who we were expecting and hoping to see go rocketing through the field, looks very unlikely to do so in a position where he can actually, and it looks to me as though he's turning into the garage. He is. Nigel Mansell, for whatever reason, has decided, it seems, that he's not going to start this race. Hopefully he will rejoin. Hopefully Amanda will be able to find out what the problem is and tell us. But drama right at the beginning. Red 5, Nigel Mansell non-starting, off come the tyres, and meantime the rest of them are proceeding on that second warm-up lap behind the safety car.
Bloody hell, the race hasn't even started yet. Okay, let's just get the race going.
When the lights go out, the race starts, and the race is on as they cross the line. Now, who is it going to be first into Copse? Is it going to be the white car of Christian Danner or the blue car of Stefan Johansson? Stefan Johansson leads, and look at the spray behind them. Great Roosters, and Derek Warwick in third position. So it is Stefan Johansson, and then Christian Danner, then Derek Warwick in third position. René Arnoux has already been slowed down, and Christian Danner, as they turn into the left and right and left and so on at Maggots and Beckett's, and then on down Chapel Curve and down the Hanger Straight, Christian Danner has to give way to Stefan Johansson.
To be fair, I thought there would be a lot more spinning at the start of this race.
We're in fourth position ahead of Jan Lammers. Look how close it is, and we ride now with Christian Danner, who is challenging. He's spun it, and he's taken out Derek Warwick as well, and through. Well, Derek Warwick spins. He's going to regain, as is Christian Danner, and they've got to spin the cars around. Hadstock misses them altogether. Well, now you're getting an indication of just how terrible the conditions are here. Meantime, this gives Stefan Johansson the opportunity to break away. At the end of the first lap, Stefan Johansson in this 30-lap race had a 2.5 second lead.
Now here's my little tip to you, just in case you ever find yourself in the position where you are broadcasting any kind of sporting event, really. Please try and make sure that when you show a replay, it is clear that it is a replay and not live action, because for some audience members, it sometimes is a little bit confusing.
Well, there is the situation, and spin again! That's a replay of the spin that you already saw.
I've got to be honest at this point, because I feel like without Nigel in this race, my interest has seriously gone downhill.
It's extremely miffed at Qatar, and Nigel Mansell is joining the race.
Yes, Nigel, come on! Yes, here we go. We are about to witness the greatest single motor racing comeback story in the history of the world. I hope you're ready for it.
And Nigel Mansell spin again.
Oh, God. Right. Well, it could be worse.
Look, there's a lot of trouble at all. And Derek Warwick's lost it. Off he goes. And Van der Poel takes advantage of the situation. This is most unlike Derek, because I expected him to be driving a much steadier race, and he was coming up. Oh, look at that. That's what happened. Derek Warwick's right front hit the left front of René Arnoux' car.
Broken wishbone too, Murray, on the right.
Let's have a quick check-in with Christian Danner. He started this race on pole. Let's see where he is now.
50 seconds, 50 seconds slower than they did, and you can see what is happening all the way around the circuit. That is the man who fancied himself to win this race, who started in pole position, Christian Danner.
That was the former race leader, Christian Danner. Let's go to the current race leader, Stefan Johansson.
And we're getting all sorts of fights down through the field, and Stefan Johansson has lost the lead. Into the lead goes number 17, Eddie Cheever from America.
But quickly, let's just go back to talk about Nigel Mansell here, because, you know, did he have issues in qualifying? Yes. Does this car have issues? Yes. Did he spin behind the safety car? Yes. Did he retire the car? Yes. Has he spun again since retiring the car? Yes. But has he given up? No, he has not, and he never will, and that is why he is a hero to the British people, because he never gives up.
Belgian, Van der Poel, Nigel Mansell's had enough. He's coming in.
Oh, God. Right, Let's talk about Alan Jones again, because he's doing commentary here, and again, very good. He explains here a little bit about driving in the wet and the kind of lines that you should use.
He was. It's a good move by Eddie Cheever around the outside of Johansson. Of course, in these sort of conditions, Murray, the outside line, in fact the wide line which Cheever just took, 9 times out of 10 is actually the better line, because all of the existing oil or grease or dirt or whatever from previous races are on the inside of the track, the correct line. Whereas if you have a tendency to go around the outside, you miss all that muck and you get more traction.
Now, what is very interesting there, that is very interesting in general, but what's even more interesting is that his commentary actually went live to the helmet of Jan Lammers.
And Jan Lammers from Holland. Cheever leads, Johansson second, Lammers third, and running.
I talked about a wide line, but that's ridiculous.
Yes.
And here's Murray Walker now asking the question we've all been thinking.
Who is Eric van der Poel?
Well, Murray, it's Eric van der Poel. He had 29 Grand Prix involvements. For 24 of them, he failed to qualify for the race. Hope that helps out there. But, more importantly, in the context of this race, Eric van der Poel also had engine issues in qualifying and didn't set a lap time. He started 14th, but right now, he's up to 2nd. He is the ultimate underdog in this race, and is doing incredibly well. But let's quickly check on a different former race leader, Stefan Johansson.
Meantime, Stefan Johansson there. Oh! And off goes Johansson. Through goes Andrea De Cesaris, Riccardo Patrese. Stefan Johansson manages to keep the engine going. Bumps his way across the grass, back onto the circuit.
We're going to head to the front of this race now with Eddie Cheever leading, because it looks like Van der Poel has caught him up.
And this is the battle for the lead, turning into a great battle for the lead. Because Eddie Cheever, who said to me, I like this new Silverstone circuit. Oh, and look what Van der Poel has done. He's run to, he's run off to Australia.
That is unfortunate there. He's just gone a little bit wide, but he's caught him up again here.
Look at this, Eric van der Poel on the right. This is a replay. Let's see what happened to him. That's what happened to him. 360-degree spin. How difficult it is to keep the engine running.
Not too bad with these cars. They're pretty good in that respect. But Eddie Cheever must be looking in the mirrors now saying, thank you.
Oh, God. Well, it was a good try from Eric, but surely he can't catch up again now. Looks like Cheever's going to run away with this one. But wait a minute. Van der Poel has caught up again.
He's right up with Eddie Cheever. He's clawed back 7 seconds from Eddie Cheever, the race leader. But that was the position before. And Eddie Cheever just stuck to his guns.
He'll do it again too. Don't worry about that. I mean, I talked about Johansson being hard to pass. Well, I think Eddie's probably even a little harder.
And Eddie Cheever has got so much experience. He was in Formula One for 12 years. And wow, look at that! They're both giving each other just enough room. Wheels almost overlapping. Van der Poel is really pushing. From 14th on the grid to 2nd. He's having a go for 1st. If he can only get past Eddie Cheever, you feel that he can pull away.
Oh, Murray, he'd romp away. I mean, he's consistently, now that last lap was 3 seconds quicker than Cheever. I mean, if the guy could get in front, he'd pull away by 2 seconds a lap.
Come on, Eric. You can do it. All 5 people watching this race are behind you. This is an incredible story. He started 14th. He is going for the lead. I sure do hope we don't miss a really important overtake now because we're watching a replay.
Well, they talk about making a car wide when you are in front and someone is trying to pass you. Eddie Cheever is doing that. He's not making the car physically any wider, but he's putting it in exactly the right place on the circuit, and now he's lost it. And Eric van der Poel has done it. He's gone through from 14th on the grid to 1st in the race.
Oh my! Do you believe in miracles? Because I think we just saw one. Starting 14th in a wet Silverstone has come through to lead this race. The only thing that would be even more incredible is if Nigel Mansell was still in this race.
Nigel Mansell back out on the circuit.
Come on, Nigel! Do it for the country! Do it for the Queen! But most of all, you do it for yourself!
Nigel Mansell has absolutely not got the setup of the car right. That spin demonstrated it. What baffles me... Let's have a replay and see what happened.
It's just the back of the car. It's got absolutely no grip whatsoever. It's just the minute he turns into the corner, it just lets go. It does look undrivable.
I know.
He spun again! But is he going to give up? No! He never gives up! He's retired the car twice! But he's still in this because he never gives up!
And for the third time, we see the sad sight of the Delta car of Nigel Mansell being pushed backwards into the pits.
Yeah, that's probably the right decision, to be fair, Nigel. It's not gone well. Yeah, retire the car. Let's go back to the race leaders now, because Eddie Cheever is now chasing down Eric van der Poel.
Position, and he's got him. And Eddie Cheever is back. We missed that, but Eddie Cheever is not only back, but he's ahead of Van der Poel. Well,
I can only assume that Van der Poel's had a bit of an off, Murray, because his lap times are still quicker than Cheever, so I can only assume that he's had a bit of an off.
A fantastic battle there, and Van der Poel is still in the lead, which brings me to something interesting that I think you should know about Murray Walker. Now, back at the British Grand Prix of 1991, on his way home, Murray Walker was attacked by a werewolf. Thankfully, Murray didn't fully become a werewolf, but from time to time you can see some tendencies of a werewolf. If you don't know about it, you won't notice it, but once you know, you may see little hints here and there. See if you can spot them in this clip here.
in 10th place, he's gained 5 places, and off he goes.
And now, with all the spins and all the crashes that we've seen in this race, the one guy who is doing incredibly well is Andrea de Cesaris. Again, the man who holds the record for the most DNFs in F1 history, the man who at one point was called Andrea de Crasherus, has broken down all stereotypes and again is proving that 47 now is the peak age for motorsports. He is doing incredibly well.
And that's Andrea de Cesaris bumping and boring his way through. He came out of Woodcote at colossal velocity. Look at the front of his car. The wing is missing altogether.
Oh, for God's sake. Right, shall we just head back to the front of the race? This is a great battle here, and it appears we're actually heading into an ad break. I do hope we don't miss anything during this ad break.
Welcome back to Silverstone and to the Grand Prix, British Grand Prix Masters, an exciting race that's been taking place at Silverstone. When we left it, it was Eric van der Poel on pole. Now, Eddie Cheever has regained top spot. Back to the rest of the action with Murray and Allen.
Okay, well, Van der Poel has lost the lead, but don't worry, he had some fantastic speed before. I'm sure he'll be back on that pace and taking the lead back pretty soon.
And the Grand Prix Masters here at Silverstone in 2006 has been won by Eddie Cheever, who sees the checkered flag first, and that's the important thing.
God damn it, Eric! So, Eddie Cheever wins here in Silverstone, Eric van der Poel in second place, Christian Danner in third, and Eddie Cheever in his interview after the race mentioned here that this is the first time he's ever won a race in front of his son, which is nice. Now, the next race was supposed to be in Sepang, but unfortunately it was cancelled due to lack of funding, which means we go to the final race again in Kyalami. But that was also cancelled due to lack of funding, which means that the 2006 GP Masters season set out to have 5 races and ended up having 2. And when we count up the points, we crown Eddie Cheever as the GP Masters World Champion of 2006. But we can look ahead now to the 2007 season. The 2007 season was announced to have 3 races, which is 2 less than what the 2006 season was supposed to have, but 1 more than what they actually delivered. The races were supposed to start at a track called the Bucharest Ring, which was a street track in Bucharest, which was only ever used for around about 1 year. It had an F3 race there, I think, and a couple of GT races. The second race was back in Qatar, and then the season would finish in Kyalami yet again. But before any of that could happen, GP Masters would find themselves in court. Delta Motorsport, who supplied the chassis for the cars, had filed a petition with the British High Court to have GP GP Masters placed into liquidation for non-payment of invoices, and following the hearing in 2007, the GP Masters were officially wound up. But in late 2008, Delta Motorsport announced that they would bring back GP Masters, now called F1 Masters. They even had their own fancy website with a username and password. But since then, it's been 16 years, and there's been nothing said, so I don't think it's coming back. So there you have it, that was the story of GP Masters, a series which only lasted 3 races, but was a hell of a lot more fun than it had any right to be. And at the end of the day, I still think was a very good idea. Like I said before, for younger fans, it's their first opportunity to see these legends. For older fans, it's a chance again to see your childhood heroes, and it was great fun racing, having these legends race in a spec series on equal terms at really fun tracks. It overall was very good. Now, like I said, I think it should have only been on tracks that either hold F1 races or used to hold F1 races to add to that more retro throwback feel, but overall it was a good idea, and an idea I feel still could be successful. Motorsport, especially F1, is at its peak of popularity right now, and a series like this I think could do incredibly well. And as we are here, 15, 16 years on, there is a whole new pool of driver names who could compete in this race following the rules of being over 45. Here's a list of names we could see now racing in GP Masters if it was to come back. Mark Webber, Nick Heidfeld, Ralf Schumacher, Jarno Trulli, Giancarlo Fisichella, Rubens Barrichello, Jacques Villeneuve, David Coulthard, Mika Hakkinen, Eddie Irvine. Maybe we could finally get Damon Hill to take part. In a year's time, we could have names like Jenson Button and Kimi Räikkönen. But you know what? When this all started, the oldest driver was Jacques Lafitte, who is 64 years old. Do you know who's currently younger than 64 years old? Eric van der Poel. It's time to run it back. Liberty Media, make it happen. Bring back GP Masters and put Eric van der Poel's name on the top of the list.